Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for the right time. It does not exist. The only thing standing between where you are and where you must be is the lie you tell yourself when you are tired. That lie is your weakness. This book is the weapon to kill it. We are not here to negotiate with your feelings. We are here to execute your potential. For the next hour, you will learn the unified theory of self-mastery, emotional control, rigid discipline, zero excuses. You are no longer a passenger in your own life. Welcome to the unstoppable mind. Chapter 1. Your feelings are liars. Listen to me closely. Everything you think you know about your gut instinct regarding comfort is wrong. Everything your body tells you when you are tired, when you are stressed, when you are fearful, it is a lie. This is the first and most critical lesson of the unstoppable mind. If you cannot grasp this, you can turn this audio off right now. If you believe that your feelings are a compass guiding you toward happiness, you will stay exactly where you are. Broken, stagnant, average. We are taught to trust our feelings. We are told to listen to our bodies. That is the advice that keeps people poor. That is the advice that keeps people out of shape. That is the advice that keeps you in a job you hate and a life you tolerate. Your feelings are not your friends. Your feelings are chemical reactions designed to keep you safe. But you didn't come here to be safe. You came here to be great. And safety is the enemy of greatness. The biological trap. Let's look at the hardware. Your brain has a primary function. It is not designed to make you a millionaire. It is not designed to get you six-pack abs. It is not designed to write a best-selling book or build a legacy. Your brain is designed for one thing: survival. It is an ancient machine built to keep you alive in a world that no longer exists. 2,000 years ago, if you felt fear, it was because a predator was hunting you. If you felt tired, it was because you needed to conserve calories to avoid starvation. But today, you live in a world of abundance. You are not being hunted. You are not starving. Yet your brain still operates on that old software. When you try to step out of your comfort zone, when you try to wake up at 4 a.m., when you try to cold call a client, when you try to lift a weight that scares you, your brain hits the panic button. It screams, "Stop! This is dangerous. This is uncomfortable. Go back to the cave." That scream is a lie. That fear is a lie. That fatigue is a lie. Your brain is trying to save you from a threat that isn't there. It is trying to keep you in the comfort zone, but you need to understand the truth. Comfort is a cage. Say it to yourself right now. Comfort is a cage. The moment you feel comfortable, you have stopped growing. The moment you feel safe, you have started dying. When your brain tells you, "I don't feel like it," that is not a signal to stop. That is a signal that you are approaching the threshold of expansion. Most people stop at the feeling. They feel resistance, so they retreat. They think the resistance means something is wrong. You have a choice. You can listen to the biology that wants you small, or you can listen to your ambition that wants you big. You cannot serve both masters. The separation protocol. The pilot versus the passenger. So, how do you defeat millions of years of evolution? You use the separation protocol. You need to create a split in your identity. You need to understand that there are two entities inside of you. First, there is the passenger. The passenger is your biology. It is your emotions. It is the whining child in the backseat of the car. The passenger screams, "Are we there yet?" The passenger screams, "I'm tired." The passenger screams, "I'm scared. Slow down." Then there is the pilot. The pilot is your consciousness. The pilot is your will. The pilot is the one holding the steering wheel. Here is the problem with 99% of the population. They let the passenger drive. They wake up in the morning and the passenger says, "I'm sleepy." So they hit snooze. They look at the gym and the passenger says, "I'm sore." So they skip the workout. They look at a difficult project and the passenger says, "I'm anxious." So they open social media. They have handed the keys of their life to a terrified, lazy child. You must take the keys back. You must realize this fundamental truth. You are not your thoughts. You are the one hearing them. Listen to the voice in your head right now. Notice it? The fact that you can listen to it means you are not it. You are the observer. You are the pilot. When the passenger starts screaming, "I can't do this," the pilot does not argue, the pilot does not negotiate, the pilot simply acknowledges the noise and keeps the foot on the gas. Stop negotiating with yourself. You don't negotiate with terrorists, and you shouldn't negotiate with your own emotions. When you feel that resistance, you must separate from it. Look at the feeling objectively. Say to yourself, my biology is currently releasing cortisol to induce fear because it wants me to remain static. I acknowledge this signal, and I am choosing to ignore it. It's not about not feeling fear. It's not about not feeling tired. You will feel tired. You will feel scared. It's about acting in spite of the feeling. The amateur waits for the feeling to go away before they act. The master acts and lets the feeling scream itself out. The 5-second override. Now, let's get tactical. Philosophy is useless without execution. How do you physically force the pilot to take control when the passenger is screaming? You use the 5-second override. Here is the science. There is a gap between your initial thought to do something necessary and your brain's counterattack. You have an impulse. I should get up. For a split second, you're ready. Then the brain kicks in. It's cold. It's dark. Just 10 more minutes. That gap is where dreams go to die. That gap is where you lose the war. You have exactly 5 seconds before your brain rationalizes you into mediocrity. You have 5 seconds before the safety software overrides your ambition. You must kill the gap. Here is the rule. The moment you know you need to do something, you start a countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And on go, you move physically. You don't think, you don't check in with how you feel, you throw the covers off, you put the phone down, you walk out the door. You must turn yourself into a machine. Machines don't have feelings. Machines have programming. When the countdown hits 1, you become the machine. If you wait for 6 seconds, you lose. If you wait until you feel like it, you will wait forever. Do you think the top 1% of the world feels like working 18 hours a day? Do you think high-level athletes feel like training until they vomit? No. Their passenger is screaming just as loud as yours. The difference is they don't listen. They have mastered the override. Every time you use the 5-second override, you are rewiring your neural pathways. You are teaching your brain that you are in charge, not your chemicals. Every time you hit snooze, you are training your brain to be weak. Every time you count down and move, you are training your brain to be unstoppable. Conclusion: the truth about good feelings. Let's wrap this up. You have spent your whole life chasing good feelings. You want to feel motivated. You want to feel happy. You want to feel comfortable. Stop it. The things that make you better, discipline, sacrifice, hard work, usually feel bad in the moment. The things that destroy you, laziness, gluttony, procrastination, usually feel good in the moment. Your feelings are liars. They are trying to seduce you into a life of nothingness. From this moment on, when you feel resistance, you lean into it. When you feel fear, you take it as a green light. When your brain screams stop, you scream go. You are the pilot. The passenger is just noise. You have learned to ignore the lies of your biology. You have learned to take the wheel. But simply ignoring the pain is not enough. You need fuel to keep the car moving, and I'm going to tell you right now, the fuel you have been using is dirty. You've been relying on a spark. You've been relying on a flash of excitement. That is a mistake. You mastered your fear. Now, let's destroy your reliance on the most overrated concept in self-help history. Chapter 2. Motivation is for amateurs. Let's burn a myth to the ground right now. Most people, the average, the mediocre, the forgotten, spend their entire lives waiting for a feeling. They wait for lightning to strike. They wait for the stars to align. They wait to feel like it. They call this feeling motivation. I am here to tell you that motivation is garbage. Motivation is a fairy tale. It is a sugar rush. It is a cheap, fleeting spark that burns out the second the wind blows. If you are building your life on the foundation of motivation, you are building on sand. Here is the hard truth. Amateurs wait for inspiration. Professionals just get to work. Think about the most successful people you know. Do you think they wake up every single morning bursting with excitement to do the hard work? Do you think the CEO enjoys the 5 a.m. alarm? Do you think the Olympian enjoys the vomit-inducing sprints? No. They hate it just as much as you do. The difference is they don't care how they feel. They respect the work more than they respect their mood. You have a choice. You can be an amateur who waits for the perfect mood, or you can be a professional who dictates the outcome. The myth of inspiration. The biggest lie sold by the self-help industry is that you need to be inspired to take action. You watch a video, you hear a speech, you get a rush of dopamine, and you think, now I can do it. But what happens on Tuesday morning? What happens when the video ends? What happens when the cold reality of the grind sets in? The feeling evaporates, and because your action was tied to that feeling, your action stops too. This is why you start diets and quit in 3 days. This is why you start businesses and fold in 3 months. You are addicted to the spark, but you have no fuel for the fire. You are treating your goals like a hobby. Hobbies are for when you feel like it. Success is a job. Success is a duty. Stop waiting to be inspired. Inspiration is for poets. You are a warrior. A warrior does not wait for the sun to come out before he goes to battle. He fights in the rain, he fights in the mud, he fights in the dark. That's the key. You must detach your performance from your emotional state. If you only work when you feel good, you will be broke. If you only train when you feel energetic, you will be weak. If you only lead when you feel confident, you will be alone. High performers perform, period. The conditions do not matter. The mood does not matter. The only thing that matters is the execution. Discipline as dogma. So, if motivation is trash, what replaces it? Discipline. Discipline is not a buzzword. Discipline is a religion of one. It is the absolute refusal to negotiate with your own weakness. Motivation is emotional. Discipline is logical. Motivation is I want to. Discipline is I must. You need to flip the script on how your brain processes action. Most people believe the equation looks like this: feeling, then action. I feel energetic, so I will run. That is backward. That is the loser's formula. The winner's formula is action, then feeling. I run, therefore I become energetic. You do not wait for the fire to start so you can throw wood on it. You throw wood on the pile and light the match yourself. Action generates feelings. Motion creates emotion. You must adopt a new mantra. This phrase must become the background noise of your life. When the alarm goes off and your bones ache, do it tired. When the unexpected bill comes and you are filled with rage, do it angry. When the risk is high and your stomach is in knots, do it scared. Just do it. There is no caveat. There is no unless. You simply execute the function. This is where you build the unstoppable mind. It is easy to work when you are fresh and happy. That counts for nothing. Character is built in the trenches. Character is built when you are exhausted, frustrated, and overwhelmed, and you still hit the standard. It's not about how you feel. It's about discipline. Discipline is the ability to give yourself a command and follow it. It is the power to bypass your lower brain, the part that wants donuts and sleep, and engage your higher brain, the part that wants legacy and power. Every time you act without motivation, you are casting a vote for the person you want to become. Every time you wait for the spark, you are casting a vote for the loser you are leaving behind. The contract. Now we move to the core of this chapter. We are going to formalize this. You need to sign a contract. I'm not talking about a piece of paper you give to a lawyer. I'm talking about a blood oath with yourself. The reason you don't have what you want is that you do not trust yourself. You have spent years breaking promises to yourself. You said you'd wake up early? You didn't. You said you'd save money? You didn't. You said you'd stop scrolling? You didn't. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you degrade your identity. You teach your brain that your word is worthless. You look in the mirror and you see a liar. That ends today. You are going to make a contract with yourself. This contract is non-negotiable. It states that when you set a task, it is as good as done. It states that your word is law. If you say you are going to the gym, it is not a suggestion. It is a court order. If you say you are going to make 50 calls, you do not stop at 49. This is the ultimate act of self-respect. Breaking a promise to a friend is bad. Breaking a promise to yourself is fatal. It is self-betrayal. It is identity destruction. When you live by the contract, you become dangerous. You become a force of nature. Why? Because you remove the variable of maybe. There is no maybe in your life anymore. There is only done. Imagine walking into a room knowing, truly knowing, that if you set your mind to a task, it will happen, no matter the difficulty, no matter the time, no matter the pain. That is the power of the contract. It eliminates the mental fatigue of decision-making. You don't have to decide every morning if you're going to run. The decision was made when you signed the contract. Now you are just the executioner. You don't need their permission to be great, and you don't need your own permission to act. You just need to follow the code. Value add, the transformation. So what do you do now? How do you apply this? Kill the vocabulary of weakness. Stop saying, "I don't feel like it." Banish that phrase. Replace it with, "My feelings are irrelevant." The just 5 minutes lie. If you are struggling to start, tell yourself you will do the task for just 5 minutes. This is a trick to get the car moving. Once you move, the friction disappears. The daily non-negotiable. Pick one thing every day that you must do no matter what happens. If the world is ending, you do this task. This rebuilds your self-trust. Stop looking for the magic pill. Stop looking for the motivational speaker to yell at you until you feel excited. That is a drug addiction. Be your own generator. Be your own spark. When you are tired, you work. When you are uninspired, you work. When you feel like quitting, you work harder. That is the secret. There is no other way. Conclusion. You have learned that your feelings are liars. You have learned that motivation is a myth for amateurs. You have signed the contract. You are now operating on a system of pure discipline. You are building the engine of the unstoppable mind. But there is still a poison in your system. There is a virus that will drain your discipline and sabotage your contract if you do not neutralize it immediately. You are doing the work, but you are still secretly wondering, what will they think of me? You are still looking over your shoulder. You are still seeking applause. And that need for approval is a leash around your neck. You have mastered your drive. Now, let's cut the leash. Chapter 3. The Poison of External Validation. You have a disease. It is a silent, creeping infection that rots your potential from the inside out. It is the reason you didn't start that business. It is the reason you didn't speak up in that meeting. It is the reason you wear clothes you don't like and buy cars you can't afford. That disease is the addiction to external validation. You are obsessed with the opinions of others. You are addicted to the applause. You are terrified of the booing. You have handed the remote control of your emotional state to strangers, to coworkers, to people on the internet who do not know you and do not care about you. This stops today. If you want an unstoppable mind, you must become immune to the good opinions of others just as much as the bad ones. You must reach a point of absolute indifference. You don't need their permission to exist. You don't need their permission to succeed, and you certainly don't need their permission to be who you are. The audience does not exist. Let's shatter your ego for a moment. You walk around acting like you are the main character in a movie that everyone else is watching. You think all eyes are on you. You think if you fail, the whole world will point and laugh. You think if you succeed, the whole world will stop and cheer. Here is the cold, liberating truth. Nobody is watching you. The audience does not exist. Psychologists call this the spotlight effect. It is a cognitive bias where we overestimate how much people notice our behavior. You think you are standing under a spotlight, but in reality, you are standing in the dark. Everyone else is too busy worrying about their own movie. They are too obsessed with their own insecurities, their own bills, and their own problems to give a damn about your failure. You are paralyzed by the fear of judgment from people who haven't thought about you in 10 years. You are holding back your greatness because you are afraid of what they will say. Who is they? They are ghosts. They are a figment of your imagination. Stop living your life for an imaginary audience. Stop performing. There is no stage. There are no cameras. It is just you and the raw reality of your life. You have a choice. You can spend your life trying to please a crowd that isn't watching, or you can get to work building something real. When you realize that nobody cares, you are free. You can fail and nobody will remember. You can try and nobody will blink. The chains are unlocked. You can walk away from the cage of approval anytime you want. Wolves don't lose sleep over sheep. Now let's address the critics, because eventually, if you actually do something with your life, someone will say something. Someone will make a snarky comment. Someone will doubt you. Good. That means you are moving. Friction only happens when there is motion. But you need to understand the hierarchy of criticism. Look at the people who criticize you. Look at the people who leave hate comments. Look at the family members who tell you to be realistic. Are they doing better than you? Are they building empires? Are they in peak physical condition? Are they living their dreams? The answer is almost always no. Here is a universal law. Criticism always comes from below. Winners do not have time to hate on losers. Winners are too busy winning. People who are building massive lives do not have the energy to tear down yours. They are focused on their own lane. The only people who criticize you are the people who feel threatened by your growth. Your success holds up a mirror to their failure, and they hate what they see. So they try to pull you down to their level. They want you to stay in the bucket with the other crabs. Wolves don't lose sleep over the opinions of sheep. Why would you value the opinion of someone you wouldn't trade lives with? That is insanity. If you wouldn't ask them for advice on how to build a life, do not accept their criticism on how you are building yours. It's not about arrogance, it's about hierarchy. It is about recognizing that feedback from the stands is irrelevant when you are in the arena. Let them talk, let them type, let them gossip. Their noise is just the soundtrack of your ascent. While they're talking about you, you are outworking them. While they are judging, you are executing. That's the key. You must view their doubt not as a stop sign, but as fuel. Every "you can't" is a deposit in your bank of motivation. Prove them wrong, but do not do it for them. Do it for you. The solo standard. So if we kill the need for external validation, what is left? How do we measure if we are doing a good job? We shift to the solo standard. You must become the only judge that matters. You must internalize the metric of success. Right now, you measure yourself by likes, by compliments, by raises, by titles. These are external metrics. They can be given and they can be taken away. They are fragile. The unstoppable mind measures itself by execution. Did I do what I said I was going to do? Did I give 100% effort when nobody was looking? Did I hold the standard when I was exhausted? If the answer is yes, then you have succeeded, even if the world boos you. If the answer is no, then you have failed, even if the world cheers you. This is the ultimate freedom. When you answer only to yourself, you become dangerous. You become incorruptible. You cannot be bought with praise, and you cannot be broken with insults. Think about the athlete training in the dark at 4 a.m. There are no cameras, there are no fans. If he cheats the rep, nobody will know. Nobody except him. If he cheats, he weakens his mind. If he holds the standard, he strengthens his identity. It's not about being seen, it's about being true. You need to look in the mirror and ask, am I proud of the man or woman looking back at me? That is the only question. If you need others to tell you that you are good, you are not good. You are empty. You are an echo chamber waiting for a sound. Fill yourself up with your own self-respect. Self-respect comes from self-discipline. It comes from keeping promises to yourself. It comes from doing the hard things in the dark. Transformation, the validation detox. Here is your instruction. You are going to go on a validation detox. Stop broadcasting your plans. Stop telling people what you are going to do. I'm going to start a business. I'm going to lose weight. Shut up. Do it first. Show them the results, not the plans. Talking about it releases the same dopamine as doing it, and it makes you weak. The post and ghost. If you create content, if you put work into the world, you hit publish and you walk away. Do not check the likes. Do not read the comments for 24 hours. Detach your self-worth from the algorithm. Audit your circle. Who are you trying to impress? If you are buying things to impress people you don't like, stop immediately. Sell the car, return the clothes, regain your financial and emotional sovereignty. You have a choice. You can be a puppet dancing for applause, or you can be a master moving in silence. The puppet is exhausted. The master is energized. When you stop caring what they think, you gain access to a reservoir of energy you didn't know you had. All that mental bandwidth you wasted on worrying is now available for creating. Conclusion. You have learned that the audience is a hallucination. You have learned that wolves do not listen to sheep. You have established the solo standard. You are now free from the opinions of others. You have cleared the emotional debris from your path. You are standing at the starting line, unburdened, focused, and ready. But being ready is not enough. Being unbothered is not enough. You can have the strongest mind in the world. You can be completely immune to criticism, but if you do not move, you are still standing still. You have a great idea? Who cares? You have a great plan? Irrelevant. There is a gap between your thoughts and your reality. Most people die in that gap. They think, they plan, they analyze, and they rot. You have cut the strings of the puppet. Now you must learn to strike with speed. Chapter 4. Kill the gap between thought and action. Ideas are cheap. Everyone has them. The beggar on the street has $1 million idea. The guy serving your coffee has a screenplay in his head. Your broke brother-in-law has a plan to fix the economy. Ideas are worthless. They are ghosts. They do not exist in the physical world until you force them into existence. The only difference between a dreamer and a conqueror is one specific variable. It is not intelligence, it is not talent, it is not luck. It is speed. It is the time that elapses between the moment the idea hits your brain and the moment you take the first physical step. I call this the gap. The gap is where dreams go to die. The gap is where your potential rots. Most people live entirely inside the gap. They have the idea today, but they plan to start on Monday. They plan to start after the holidays. They plan to start when things slow down. Here's the reality. The longer the gap, the more likely the failure. If you wait 24 hours to act on an idea, the chance of execution drops by 50%. If you wait 48 hours, it drops to near zero. Why? Because the moment the inspiration fades, the logic kicks in, the fear kicks in, the excuses kick in. You must become a master of closing the gap. You must become a person who shortens the distance between I should and I did to zero. The law of immediate execution. You are addicted to someday. Someday is a disease. Someday is a lie you tell yourself to feel better about being a coward today. You have a choice. You can keep building castles in the sky, or you can start laying bricks in the mud. The law of immediate execution states that when you have an instinct to act, you must move immediately. Not in an hour, now. If you have the thought, I should call that client, you pick up the phone before you can talk yourself out of it. If you have the thought, I should work out, you are on the floor doing push-ups before the thought finishes. You need to understand the physics of your own mind. Doubt is a predator. It chases you. If you stand still, it catches you. If you move with velocity, you leave it in the dust. When you hesitate, you give your brain time to calculate the risk. And remember chapter 1, your brain is designed for safety. It will always find a reason not to do it. It will find a risk. It will find a flaw. That's the key. You must move faster than your fear can think. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need a guarantee. You don't need their permission to start. You just need to take the first step. The first step creates momentum. Momentum creates results. Analysis paralysis, the intellectual trap. Now let's talk about your favorite hiding place. Let's talk about the sophisticated way you procrastinate while pretending to be productive. It's called analysis paralysis. You tell yourself you are researching. You tell yourself you are strategizing. You tell yourself you are preparing. You're lying. You're stalling. You buy the books. You watch the tutorials. You draw the mind maps. You feel busy. You feel like you're making progress. Let me be very clear. Motion is not progress. Action is progress. Motion is planning. Motion is strategizing. Motion is buying the running shoes. Action is running. You can spend 10 years in motion and never produce a result. You can spend 10 years designing the perfect logo for a business that doesn't exist. You can spend 10 years researching the perfect workout routine while you get fat. It's not about preparation, it's about execution. Amateurs love to plan because planning feels safe. No one can reject a plan. No one can fail at research. It is a simulated environment. Action is dangerous. Action carries the risk of failure. Action exposes you to judgment. That is why you avoid it. That is why you hide behind your spreadsheets and your notebooks. Stop preparing to start. You are already ready. You know enough. You think you need more information? No, you need more guts. You are drowning in information. You are starving for wisdom. And wisdom only comes from doing. You cannot learn how to fight by reading a book about war. You cannot learn how to swim by watching videos about water. You have to get wet. You have to get hit. Motion is not progress. Action is progress. Burn that into your brain. If you are not producing a result, you are just wasting time. Velocity as a weapon. In the modern world, speed is the ultimate currency. Speed is a weapon. The slow are eaten by the fast. The perfect are eaten by the prolific. You are waiting for the conditions to be perfect. You are waiting for the product to be flawless. You are waiting until you are ready. By the time you are ready, the opportunity is gone. By the time you are perfect, the market has moved on. Velocity is your advantage. If you can execute an imperfect plan today, you will beat the genius who executes a perfect plan next year. Why? Because while the genius is thinking, you are learning. You are getting feedback, you are failing, adjusting, and moving forward. You must adopt a ready, fire, aim mentality. Most people are stuck in ready, aim, aim, aim. They never fire. They are terrified of missing the target. So what if you miss? If you fire and miss, you now have data. You know you aimed too high. You adjust. You fire again, you hit. The person who never fired is still polishing their gun. They have zero data. They have zero experience. They have zero results. It's not about accuracy. It's about velocity. Make mistakes. Make them fast. Fix them faster. You are terrified of making a wrong move, but in the game of life, the only wrong move is standing still. A wrong move gives you direction. Standing still gives you stagnation. Transformation, the 24-hour rule. So, how do we operationalize this? How do we turn you from a thinker into a doer? You are going to implement the 24-hour rule. From this moment on, whenever you have a new idea, a new project, or a new goal, you must take one significant, irreversible action within 24 hours. I don't mean write it down. I don't mean think about it. I mean do something. If you want to write a book, you write the first page today. If you want to start a podcast, you record the first episode on your phone today. If you want to sell a product, you ask someone to buy it today. You force yourself into the arena. You commit before you are ready. This is how you kill the gap. You create a situation where you cannot back down. When you do this, you will feel panic. You will feel unprepared. Good. That is the feeling of growth. That is the feeling of being alive. Stop researching. Stop asking for advice. You don't need their permission. Every second you spend overthinking is a second you are stealing from your future. Every time you say, "I'll do it later," you are signing a contract with mediocrity. Kill the gap. Be the person who decides and moves in the same breath. Be the person who is terrifyingly fast. When people look at you, they should wonder how you do so much. They will ask for your secret. They will ask for your hack. Tell them the truth. While you were planning, I was doing. Conclusion. You have learned that the gap is the enemy. You have learned that motion is a trap and action is the only truth. You have learned that velocity is a weapon. You are now a machine of execution. You don't hesitate. You trigger. You move. But here is the warning. When you start moving, when you start taking massive action, you are going to collide with reality, and reality is hard. When you start running, your lungs will burn. When you start building, your hands will bleed. When you start fighting, you will get hit. You are going to experience pain. The amateur feels pain and thinks, something is wrong, I should stop. The master feels pain and knows, this is the signal, I must push harder. You have learned to move, now you must learn to suffer.
Chapter 5. Pain is a signal, not a stop sign. We live in a world that is obsessed with avoiding pain. We have pills for headaches, pills for anxiety, air conditioning for the heat, and heaters for the cold. We have designed a society dedicated to the absolute removal of discomfort. And that is exactly why you are soft. That is why you quit when it gets hard. That is why you crumble under pressure. You have conditioned yourself to believe that pain is a mistake. You think that when things get difficult, it means you have taken a wrong turn. I am here to rewire your brain. Pain is not a mistake. Pain is not a warning. Pain is a requirement. If you are not in pain, you are not growing. If you are comfortable, you are shrinking. You have a choice. You can spend your life running from discomfort, hiding in the safety of the known, and dying without ever knowing your true strength. Or you can turn around, face the pain, and embrace it as the only path to the unstoppable mind. Reframing suffering, the physics of growth. Let's look at the biology. How do you build muscle? You do not build muscle by lifting a weight that is easy. You build muscle by lifting a weight that is heavy. You lift until the fibers literally tear. You create micro-trauma in the tissue. The body senses this trauma, rushes resources to the site, and repairs the fiber. But it doesn't just repair it to the same level. It rebuilds it stronger and bigger so that it can handle the load next time. This is the law of the universe. Destruction precedes construction. You cannot build a stronger version of yourself without destroying the weaker version. And destruction hurts. When you are pushing for a goal and you feel stress, anxiety, or exhaustion, that is not a sign to stop. That is the feeling of your old self dying. That is the feeling of your mental fibers tearing so they can grow back harder. Most people feel that burn and they drop the weight. They think, this is too hard, I shouldn't be doing this. That's the key. You must reinterpret the signal. When you feel the burn, you must smile. You must say, good, it's working. It's not about suffering, it's about construction. If you are writing a book and it is painful, good, you are becoming a writer. If you are building a business and the rejection stings, good, you are becoming an entrepreneur. If you are waking up early and your body aches, good, you are becoming disciplined. Do not pray for an easy life. An easy life produces weak people. Pray for the strength to endure a difficult one. The pain is the evidence that you are climbing. The callus of the mind. Imagine the hands of a manual laborer. They are rough, they are thick, they have calluses. Now imagine the hands of someone who has never done a day of hard work. They are soft, they are fragile, they blister at the slightest touch. Your mind works the exact same way. If you protect your mind from every difficulty, if you never expose it to stress, it becomes soft, it becomes fragile. When real adversity hits, and it will hit, you will shatter, you will blister. You need to build a callus on your mind. How do you do this? By exposing yourself to friction, by seeking out voluntary hardship. You must intentionally make your life harder than it needs to be.
This is why we take cold showers. Not because we like being cold, but to train the mind to tolerate the shock. This is why we exercise when we are tired, not just for the body, but to train the mind to override the fatigue. You are inoculating yourself against stress. You are giving yourself a small dose of poison every day so that when the snake bites you, you are immune. It's not about masochism, it's about preparation. When you deliberately choose the hard path, the easy path becomes a joke. When you have trained yourself to run in the rain, walking in a storm feels like a sunny day. You don't need their permission to be tough. Society tells you to take it easy. Society tells you to be kind to yourself. Ignore them. They are breeding weakness. Be hard on yourself. If you are hard on yourself, life will be easy on you. If you are easy on yourself, life will be hard on you. Build the callus. Seek the friction. Hardens the vessel so it does not break when the storm comes. The 40% rule. Now let's talk about your limits. You think you know your limit. You think you know how much you can take. You run until your lungs burn and you think, I am at 100%. I cannot go another step. That is a lie. The Navy SEALs have a concept called the 40% rule. It states that when your mind tells you that you are done, when you feel completely tapped out, you have only used 40% of your actual capacity. You have a governor in your brain. Just like a governor on a car engine that stops it from going too fast, your brain has a safety mechanism. It triggers pain and fatigue way before you are in actual danger. It wants to save energy. It wants to keep some in the tank for survival. But you don't need to save energy for survival. You need to burn it for greatness. When you hit that wall, when you think, I can't, you are not empty. You are not even half empty. You have 60% left in the reserve tank. Find the reserve tank. This is where the unstoppable mind is forged. It is forged in the moment you want to quit. Anyone can work until they are tired. That is the first 40%. That is average. The magic happens after you are tired. The growth happens in the reserve tank. Next time you are working and you feel like your brain is fried, push for one more hour. You will find a second wind. You will tap into a fuel source you didn't know existed. Next time you are training and you want to drop the bar, do 5 more reps. You have to prove to your brain that it is wrong. You have to prove to the governor that you are in charge. You have a choice. You can stop at 40% like everyone else, or you can access the hidden 60%. The 60% is where the champions live. The 60% is where the records are broken. The 60% is where you find out who you really are.
Transformation. The pain audit. Here is your instruction. I want you to conduct a pain audit. Look at your life. Where are you avoiding discomfort? Are you avoiding that difficult conversation? Are you avoiding the cold? Are you avoiding the hunger? Are you avoiding the silence? Identify the comfort traps and then step into them. Start small. If you hate cold water, turn the knob to cold for the last 30 seconds of your shower. Stand there. Don't hyperventilate. Control your breath. Master the panic. If you hate running, go run. If you hate reading, read. You must become a hunter of discomfort. When you see something that looks hard, you must attack it. That looks difficult. Good. I'll do it. That looks painful. Good. I'll master it. Change your relationship with pain. Stop viewing it as an enemy. View it as a teacher. View it as fuel. Pain is the only thing that is real. It cuts through the noise. It focuses the mind. It's not about avoiding the fire. It's about becoming the fire. Conclusion. You have learned that pain is a signal of growth. You have learned to build the callus on your mind. You have learned the 40% rule. You are now tougher. You are harder to kill. You are harder to break. You have learned to endure. But endurance is only half the battle. You can be the strongest soldier in the world, but if you are standing in a room full of sick, weak people, eventually you will catch the infection. You are building an unstoppable mind, but you are likely surrounded by stoppable minds. You are surrounded by people who love comfort, who hate growth, and who will do everything in their power to drag you back down to the 40%. You cannot heal in the same environment that made you sick. It is time to look at the people around you. It is time to make the hardest cuts of all. Chapter 6. You are who you tolerate. You can drink the green juice. You can wake up at 4 a.m. You can listen to this audiobook on repeat until you have memorized every word. But if you walk out your front door and spend your day surrounded by losers, you will lose. It is harsh. It is offensive. It is also the absolute truth. You are an absorption machine. Your brain is constantly scanning your environment and syncing with the people around you. It is a biological survival mechanism. We are herd animals. We mimic the herd to survive. If the herd is running, you run. If the herd is sitting, you sit. If the herd is complaining, you complain. You are trying to build an unstoppable mind, but you are likely surrounded by people with stoppable minds. You are trying to build a fire in the middle of the ocean. It doesn't matter how big the spark is. The environment will extinguish it. You have a choice. You can elevate your standards and be lonely for a while, or you can lower your standards and fit in with the average. You cannot do both. The infection of mediocrity. Mediocrity is not just a lack of effort. It is an infection. It is an airborne virus that spreads through conversation, through body language, and through shared habits. When you hang around people who constantly talk about how tired they are, you start to feel tired. When you hang around people who gossip about others, you start to judge others. When you hang around people who are broke and blame the economy, you start to feel like a victim. You are not immune. Do not be arrogant enough to think you can swim in a sewer and come out smelling like a rose. If your best friend is lazy, their laziness is leaking into your subconscious. If your spouse is fearful, their fear is becoming your fear. We call this the law of association. You become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Look at your 5 people. Are they fit? Are they wealthy? Are they driven? Are they relentlessly positive? Or are they cynical? Are they stagnant? Are they comfortable? If you look around and you are the smartest, most driven person in the room, you are in the wrong room. You are not the leader in that room. You are the ceiling. And if you are the ceiling, you have nowhere to grow. That's the key. You need to be in a room where you are the small fish. You need to be in a room where the energy makes you uncomfortable because everyone else is operating at a level you haven't reached yet. That discomfort is what pulls you up. Ruthless curation. So, what do? You perform a ruthless curation. You must treat your social circle like a VIP section. Right now, you have an open door policy. You let anyone in, you let anyone dump their trash in your mind. You listen to their complaints, you entertain their drama. You are being nice, and your niceness is killing your potential. You need to close the door. You need to put a bouncer at the entrance of your life. You need to identify the 3 types of people you must remove immediately. 1. The victim. Everything happens to them. The boss hates them, the weather is bad, the traffic is terrible. They are allergic to responsibility. Action? Cut them off. You cannot save a victim. They will only drown you with them. 2. The skeptic. When you tell them your idea, they tell you why it won't work. That sounds risky. Are you sure? Nobody does that. They disguise their jealousy as concern. They don't want you to fail. They're terrified you will succeed and leave them behind. Action? Stop telling them your plans. Downgrade their access to you. 3. The comfort seeker. Come on, just one drink. Why are you working so hard? Take a break. They want you to relax because your intensity highlights their apathy. They want you to be soft so they don't feel guilty about being soft. Action? Distance yourself. They are anchors. It's not about cruelty. It's about survival. You must audit your phone. Look at your texts. Who drains you? Who energizes you? If seeing a name pop up on your screen gives you a feeling of dread or exhaustion, delete the contact. But they are family. But I've known them for 10 years. I don't care. History is not a reason to tolerate toxicity. Just because you went to high school with someone does not mean they have a lifetime pass to poison your future. You don't need their permission to outgrow them. You don't owe anyone an explanation for why you are leveling up. The vacuum effect. Now, I know what you are thinking. If I cut all these people off, I will be alone. Yes, you will be. And you must embrace that. This is called the vacuum effect. When you clean out a closet, for a moment the closet is empty. That emptiness is necessary. You cannot fill a space with new high-quality things until you remove the old broken junk. Most people are terrified of the vacuum. They are terrified of being alone on a Friday night, so they fill the space with garbage people just to avoid the silence. Do not fear the silence. The silence is where you meet yourself. It is better to walk alone in the right direction than follow the herd off a cliff. When you create a vacuum, you send a signal to the universe. You are saying, I am no longer accepting mediocrity. And eventually, that vacuum will be filled. It will be filled with other lions. It will be filled with other people who are on the path, but they cannot enter your life if there is no room for them. You have to be willing to walk through the desert alone before you reach the oasis. The period of loneliness is the price of admission for the next level of your life. Use the solitude. Use the time you used to spend listening to people complain to build your body. Use the time to read. Use the time to build your empire. Solitude is dangerous to a weak mind, but it is a sanctuary for an unstoppable mind. Transformation. The social audit. Here is your instruction. You are going to do a social audit today. Take a piece of paper. Write down the names of the 10 people you interact with most frequently. Next to each name, write either charger or drainer. A charger is someone who leaves you feeling energized, inspired, and capable. A drainer is someone who leaves you feeling tired, cynical, or doubtful. Here's the rule. You must eliminate or strictly limit contact with every single drainer. No exceptions. If it is a coworker, keep the conversation strictly professional, 30 seconds max. If it is a friend, stop initiating. Let the relationship die a natural death. If it is a family member, set hard boundaries. I will not discuss this negativity with you. Stop tolerating it. You get in life what you tolerate. If you tolerate disrespect, you will be disrespected. If you tolerate lateness, people will be late. If you tolerate mediocrity, you will be mediocre. Raise the standard. If people cannot meet the standard, they cannot be in your life. This is not about being better than them. It is about being different from them. You are on a mission. They are on a carousel. You are going somewhere. They are just going around in circles. Hop off the carousel. Conclusion. You have learned that your environment is stronger than your willpower. You have learned to ruthlessly curate your circle. You have embraced the vacuum of solitude. You have cleaned house. You have stripped away the anchors. You are light. You are focused. You are moving fast. But now that you are moving fast, now that you are taking massive action, you are going to collide with the world, and the world hits back. You are going to try things, and they're going to fall apart. You are going to build things, and they're going to break. You are going to lose money. You are going to lose face. Most people call this failure. They let it destroy them. But you are going to do something different. You are going to take that failure, and you are going to turn it into a weapon. Chapter 7. The Art of Weaponizing Failure. I want you to think about the moment you dread the most. The moment the deal falls through, the moment the bank account hits zero, the moment she says no, the moment you launch your project and the only response is deafening silence. You are terrified of this moment. You spend your entire life tiptoeing around it, building walls to keep it out, playing small so you never have to face it. You view failure as a verdict. You think failure is a judge slamming a gavel and declaring that you are not good enough. You are wrong. Failure is not a verdict. Failure is a weapon. But like any weapon, it only works if you know how to hold it. If you hold it by the blade, it cuts you. If you hold it by the handle, it cuts the world. Most people hold it by the blade. They let failure wound their ego. They let it bleed their confidence. They let it kill their momentum. You have a choice. You can be the victim of your failures, or you can be the master of them. You can let failure stop you, or you can use failure to propel you. It is time to learn the art of weaponizing failure. Data, not defeat. First, we must perform a surgical removal of your emotions. You need to stop viewing failure as an emotional event. It is not emotional. It is mechanical. In the world of the unstoppable mind, failure does not exist. There is only data acquisition. Think like a scientist. A scientist does not cry when an experiment fails. A scientist does not go home and eat ice cream because the chemical reaction didn't happen. A scientist looks at the result and says, "Interesting, that didn't work. Now I know one more way that doesn't work. I am closer to the answer." That is how you must operate. When you lose a client, that is data. It tells you your sales pitch was weak or your product was misaligned. When you post a video and nobody watches, that is data. It tells you your hook was boring or your thumbnail was trash. That's the key. You must strip the story away from the event. The event is, "I lost money." The story you tell yourself is, "I am a loser who will never succeed." The event is real. The story is a lie. Stop telling yourself stories. Look at the numbers. Look at the facts. Treat your life like an algorithm. An algorithm doesn't have feelings. It just adjusts variables based on feedback. If you interpret every no as a personal attack, you will burn out. If you interpret every no as a data point, you become smarter. You become more efficient. It's not about worthiness, it's about calibration. You are simply calibrating your approach. You are turning the dials. Every failure tells you which dial to turn. If you never fail, you never get the data. If you never get the data, you can never optimize. Show me a man who has never failed, and I will show you a man who has never tried. Show me a man who fails every day and learns, and I will show you a future king. The bounce-back rate. Now let's talk about recovery. You are going to get knocked down. That is a guarantee. I don't care how tough you are. I don't care how smart you are. Life hits harder than you. The metric of your success is not whether you get knocked down. The metric is the bounce-back rate. How long do you stay on the canvas?
The amateur fails and spends a week feeling sorry for himself. He complains to his friends. He drinks. He doubts his entire existence. He wastes 7 days in mourning. The professional fails, dusts himself off, analyzes the data, and is back at work in 10 minutes. Mourning a loss is a luxury you cannot afford. You do not have time to feel sad. You do not have time to lick your wounds. The market does not pause while you recover. The competition does not sleep while you cry. Every second you spend dwelling on a past failure is a second you are not creating a future success. You need to shorten your recovery time. You need to condense that mourning period from a week to a day to an hour to a moment. It needs to be immediate. Rejection, reset, go. Loss, reset, go. Embarrassment, reset, go. You must develop a short-term memory for failure and a long-term memory for the lesson. Forget the pain, remember the data. You don't need their permission to start again. You don't need to wait for the world to apologize to you. The world owes you nothing. If you lose a deal today, you better be on the phone trying to close another one an hour later. That is the only way to wash the taste of failure out of your mouth, with the taste of new action. Speed is your savior. When you move fast, you don't have time to be depressed. Failing forward, the path of titans. Look at history. Look at the people you admire. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. He didn't quit, he weaponized it. Thomas Edison failed 1,000 times before the light bulb. He didn't say, "I am a failure." He said, "I found 1,000 ways that don't work." Walt Disney was fired for lacking imagination. Do you think they would be who they are if they had succeeded immediately? No. The failure made them. The resistance shaped them. You are praying for an easy path, but the easy path leads to a weak life. You should be praying for a path that forces you to evolve. You need to start failing forward. This means you fall in the direction of your goal. Even when you miss, you are further ahead than when you started because you have gained experience. You need to seek rejection. You need to desensitize yourself to the word no. The word no cannot hurt you. It is just a sound wave. It has no physical power over you unless you give it power. Go out and collect no's. Set a goal to get rejected 10 times this week. Ask for a discount and get a no. Ask for a meeting and get a no. Pitch a big idea and get a no. When you seek it, you take the power away from it. You realize that the sun still rises. You realize that you are still alive. You realize that no is not a death sentence. It is just a stepping stone to yes. It's not about avoiding the hit. It's about conditioning yourself to take it. The more you fail, the less you fear it. And when you no longer fear failure, you become dangerous. Because a man who is willing to lose everything is the man who is capable of winning everything. Transformation, the postmortem. Here is your instruction. You are going to change how you handle a loss starting today. The next time you fail, and I hope it is soon, you are going to conduct a postmortem.
You were not going to vent. You were not going to complain. You were going to sit down with a piece of paper and write 3 headings. What happened? The facts only, no emotions. Why did it happen? The root cause. Was it effort, strategy, execution? What is the adjustment, the action step for next time? You spend 5 minutes on this. You extract the lesson like a surgeon extracting a bullet, and then you throw the bloody rags away and you get back to work. You thank the failure for the lesson. You say, "Thank you for showing me my weakness so I can kill it." This is how you weaponize it. You turn every stumbling block into a stair. You build your castle out of the stones they throw at you. You have a choice. You can let your failures define you, or you can let them refine you. Conclusion. You have learned that failure is data. You have learned to shorten your bounce-back rate. You have learned to fail forward and seek rejection. You are no longer afraid of the fall. You know that the ground is just a place to push off from. But here is the catch. Getting up is hard. Fighting back is hard. But there is something even harder than the big dramatic failures. There is something that kills more dreams than rejection ever will. It is not the sharp pain of defeat. It is the dull ache of boredom. It is the day after day, week after week, month after month of doing the same thing over and over again without seeing a result. You have mastered the crash. Now you must master the grind. Most people quit not because it's too hard, but because it's too boring. They are addicted to the thrill. They cannot handle the silence of the work.
Chapter 8. Master the monotony. You are addicted to the highlight reel. You scroll through social media and you see the cars, the vacations, the sold-out stadiums, the grand openings. You watch movies where the hero goes from zero to hero in a 3-minute musical montage. You have been brainwashed to believe that success is exciting. You think it is a constant adrenaline rush of big wins and high fives. You think the path to the top is paved with excitement. You are wrong. The path to the top is paved with boredom. It is paved with repetition. It is paved with the same dull, unsexy tasks done day after day, year after year, with zero applause. If you were looking for entertainment, go to the circus. If you were looking for greatness, you better get ready to be bored. You have a choice. You can chase the thrill and stay mediocre, or you can embrace the boredom and become elite. You cannot do both. The reason most people fail is not because they lack talent. It is not because they lack opportunity. It is because they cannot handle the monotony. They get bored. They quit the diet because they missed the variety. They quit the business because the initial excitement faded. They are tourists. You must be a local. You must live in the monotony. The boring truth. Let's talk about what success actually looks like. It looks like the writer sitting in a quiet room staring at a blank page fighting for one sentence every single day. It looks like the investor reading boring annual reports for 6 hours straight. It looks like the athlete shooting the same free throw with the same form from the same spot 10,000 times. There are no fireworks. There is no background music. There is just the work. This is the boring truth. Real success is not a singular event. It is a compound effect. It is the accumulation of thousands of tiny, boring actions that nobody sees. You want the result, but you hate the process. You want the abs, but you hate the chicken and broccoli. You want the millions, but you hate the cold calls. That's the key. You have to fall in love with the boredom. You have to find a sick, twisted pleasure in doing the same thing over and over again. You have to take pride in your consistency. When your friends ask, "What did you do today?" and you say, "The same thing I did yesterday," that is not an admission of failure. That is a declaration of discipline. It's not about variety, it's about consistency.
Amateurs change their routine every week because they get bored. They change their workout, they change their diet, they change their business model. They are digging 100 holes that are 1 foot deep. The master digs 1 hole that is 100 feet deep. He hits oil. The amateurs hit nothing but dirt. Stop looking for the new thing. The new thing is a distraction. The old thing, the basics, the fundamentals, the boring work, is where the gold is. The ritual. So how do you survive the boredom without losing your mind? You automate it. You create the ritual. Your brain has a limited supply of willpower. Every time you have to make a decision, what to eat, what to wear, when to work, you burn a unit of that energy. We call this decision fatigue. If you were waking up every morning and asking yourself, what should I do first? You have already lost. You are wasting your best mental energy on trivial questions. You need to establish a routine so rigid that it runs on autopilot. Look at the greats. They often wear the same clothes. They eat the same breakfast. They work at the same time. Why? Are they boring people? No, they are efficient machines. They are eliminating the variables. They are protecting their brain power for the high-stakes decisions that actually matter. You need to build a structure that protects you from your own feelings. If your routine is non-negotiable, you don't have to feel like doing it. You just do it because it's Tuesday. You don't need their permission to be boring. You don't need their permission to disappear into your routine. When you lock in the ritual, you remove the option to quit. You remove the negotiation. 7 a.m., I write. 8 a.m., I train. 9 a.m., I sell. It doesn't matter if it's raining. It doesn't matter if you're sad. The ritual does not care. The ritual demands execution. By standardizing your behavior, you free your mind. You are no longer thinking about what to do. You are only focused on how well you can do it. Falling in love with the plateau. Here is the hardest part. You will establish the ritual. You will embrace the boring truth. You will work hard for 6 months. And then progress will stop. You will hit a wall. The numbers won't go up. The weight won't come off. The skills won't seem to improve. You have entered the plateau. This is the graveyard of dreams. This is where 90% of people quit. They think, I'm working so hard, but nothing is happening. It's not working. They are wrong. It is working. The plateau is not a dead end. The plateau is a filter. The universe creates the plateau to weed out the cowards. It is testing you. It is asking, do you really want this? Or are you just here for the quick wins? If you quit on the plateau, you prove you were never serious. The unstoppable mind understands that the plateau is necessary. It is where the roots grow deep. On the surface, nothing is happening. Underground, you are building the foundation for the next quantum leap. You must learn to embrace the grind. The grind is the glory. Say it again. The grind is the glory. The glory is not the trophy. The glory is knowing that you stayed on the treadmill when everyone else got off. The glory is knowing that you held the line when it was boring, when it was hard, and when it seemed pointless. When you are on the plateau, you are alone. The tourists have gone home. It's just you and the work. That is where you find out who you are. It's not about the view from the top. It's about the climb. If you can learn to love the flat line, you become dangerous. Because if you don't need progress to keep working, you become impossible to stop. Transformation. The boring audit. Here is your instruction. You are going to conduct a boring audit. I want you to look at your daily schedule. How much of it is dedicated to shiny objects? How much time do you spend scrolling, looking for inspiration, or planning fun projects? Cut it out. Identify the 3 boring tasks that actually move the needle in your life. If you are in sales, it's making calls. If you are a creator, it's writing scripts. If you are an athlete, it's the basic drills. Strip away the fluff. Strip away the decorations. Focus 90% of your energy on those 3 boring tasks. Do them at the same time, in the same way, every single day for the next 30 days. You will hate it. You will scream for variety. You will want to quit. Don't. Push through the boredom. On the other side of that boredom is mastery. On the other side of that monotony is the life you dream of. The price of the extraordinary life is a tolerance for the ordinary work. That's the key. If you can master the mundane, you can master the world. Conclusion. You have learned that the highlight reel is a lie. You have learned to build a ritual to protect your willpower. You have learned to fall in love with the plateau. You are now a master of the grind. You can handle the pain. You can handle the boredom. You are steady. You are consistent. But there is one final enemy. An enemy that you cannot fight. An enemy that you cannot negotiate with. An enemy that is stealing from you right now as you listen to this sentence. You think you have time. You think you can do the boring work forever. You are wrong. The clock is ticking. The sand is running out, and if you do not wake up to the urgency of your existence, all this discipline will be for nothing. You need to stop living like you are going to live forever.
Chapter 9. Death is the only deadline. I am going to tell you something that you are trying very hard to ignore. I am going to tell you the only truth that actually matters. You are going to die. It might be in 50 years. It might be in 10 years. It might be next Tuesday. It might be before you finish this audiobook. You know this intellectually, but you do not know it emotionally. You live as if you have an infinite supply of tomorrows. You procrastinate as if you have a contract with God that guarantees you another decade. You don't. Every second that ticks by is a second that is gone forever. It is never coming back. You are spending the only currency that you cannot earn more of: time. Most people treat time like it's cheap. They waste it on arguments. They waste it on social media. They waste it on jobs they hate and people they tolerate. They are spending their life savings on garbage. You have a choice. You can keep pretending you are immortal and waste your life, or you can embrace the reality of death and use it to wake up. Memento mori, the ultimate deadline. The ancient Stoics had a practice called memento mori. It translates to remember that you must die. They didn't do this to be depressed. They didn't do this to be morbid. They did it to create urgency. When you realize that the clock is ticking, everything changes. The petty nonsense falls away. The fear of embarrassment disappears. Who cares if you fail? You're going to die anyway. Who cares if they laugh at you? They're going to die too. Death is the great clarifier. It strips away the ego. It strips away the noise. It leaves only what is essential. You are waiting for the perfect time to start. You are waiting for the economy to improve. You are waiting for the kids to grow up. You are running out of time. There is no perfect time. There is only this time. If you knew, truly knew, that you had 1 year left to live, would you be doing what you were doing right now? Would you be stressing over that email? Would you be worried about what your neighbor thinks of your car? Of course not. You would be ferocious. You would be focused. You would be unstoppable. That's the key. You need to live with that same ferocity now, not when the doctor gives you a diagnosis. Now. You must stop viewing death as a tragedy that happens in the future and start viewing it as a deadline that is approaching at 60 minutes per hour. It's not about fear, it's about focus. When you understand that the deadline is real, procrastination becomes impossible. You don't have time to delay. You don't have time to be lazy. You have work to do, and the sun is setting. The legacy question. Let's fast forward. Let's go to the end. Imagine your funeral. The people are there, the casket is there, it is over. The game is finished.
What will they say about you? Will they say he lived comfortably? Will they say she played it safe? Will they say he watched a lot of Netflix and never offended anyone? If that is your eulogy, you have failed. You have wasted the gift of consciousness. You don't need their permission to be great, but you do need to decide what you are leaving behind. Most people live and die like ghosts. They pass through the world without touching it. They consume resources, they pay taxes, and they vanish. No ripple, no impact. The unstoppable mind demands a legacy. I am not talking about a statue in the park. I am talking about leaving a scar on the world. A scar is proof that you were here. A scar means you changed something, you built something, you fought for something, you loved something so hard that it left a mark. If you are living for comfort, you will be forgotten. Comfort is the enemy of legacy. Comfort is soft. Legacy is hard. Ask yourself right now, if I died today, what have I built? If the answer is nothing, then you need to get moving. You need to get angry. You need to realize that you are burning daylight. The goal is not to live forever. The goal is to create something that does. It's not about longevity. It's about intensity. It doesn't matter how long the movie is. It matters how good the movie is. Some people live to be 90 and their life was a boring, repetitive commercial. Some people live to be 30 and their life was a blockbuster. Make your life a blockbuster. Make it matter. Today is the life. Now, let's dismantle the biggest lie you tell yourself, the lie of someday. Someday I'll write the book. Someday I'll travel. Someday I'll get in shape. Someday is a fantasy. Someday does not exist on the calendar. There is only today. How you live today is how you live your life. If you are lazy today, you are leading a lazy life. If you are fearful today, you are leading a fearful life. If you are distracted today, you are leading a distracted life. You think that one day you will magically wake up and be a different person. You think that in the future you will have more discipline, more energy, and more courage. You won't. You will be exactly who you are today, just older and with more regret. You have a choice. You can treat today as a throwaway, or you can treat today as a miniature version of your entire existence. If you want to be a writer, write today. If you want to be an athlete, train today. If you want to be a leader, lead today. That's the key. You must close the gap between who you want to be and who you are acting like right now. Stop saying, "I'll do it tomorrow." Tomorrow is not promised. Tomorrow is a hope, not a fact. You must attack today with a sense of desperate urgency. You must squeeze every drop of potential out of these 24 hours. When your head hits the pillow at night, you should be empty. You should have nothing left to give. That is how you respect the gift of life. You use it up. You don't hoard your energy for a later date. You burn it all now. Transformation, the deathbed audit. Here is your instruction. You are going to do something uncomfortable. You are going to perform a deathbed audit. I want you to find a quiet place. Close your eyes. I want you to visualize yourself at the end of your life. You are old. You are in bed. You are taking your final breaths. Now, look back at the life you are living right now. Look at the fears that are stopping you. Look at the opinions of others that you are worried about. Look at the time you are wasting. From the perspective of your deathbed, does any of that matter? Does it matter that you were embarrassed to post a video? Does it matter that someone rejected you? Does it matter that you were tired? No. The only thing that will matter is the regret of what you didn't do. The only thing that will haunt you is the potential you didn't use. Open your eyes. You are not on your deathbed. You are alive. You have air in your lungs. You have a chance that the version of you in that visualization wishes they had. You don't need their permission to change. You just need to realize that the clock is ticking. Take that regret you felt in the visualization and use it as fuel. Let it burn a fire under you. Every time you feel like procrastinating, remember the deathbed audit. Remember that someday is a lie. Remember that death is coming. And then get to work. Conclusion. You have learned that Memento Mori is a tool for focus. You have learned that legacy requires you to leave a scar. You have learned that today is the only life you have. You are awake now. You are no longer sleepwalking through your existence. You feel the pressure of time. You feel the urgency of the deadline. You have the discipline. You have the mindset. You have the urgency. But there is one final piece of the puzzle, the most important piece. You can have all the tools, all the habits, and all the urgency in the world, but if you still see yourself as a regular person trying to be great, you will fail. You need to change your fundamental software. You need to stop trying to be successful and start being the person who commands success. It is time to kill your old identity. It is time to become the monarch of your own reality. Chapter 10. Identify as the conqueror. We have arrived at the end of the instruction, but the beginning of the war. We have talked about discipline. We have talked about failure. We have talked about death. We have stripped away your excuses layer by layer. But there is one final lock on the cage. There is one final barrier between you and the unstoppable mind. It is how you see yourself. You are still walking around with the self-image of a struggling person. You see yourself as someone who is trying to be successful. You see yourself as someone who is working on their discipline. Stop it. Trying is a confession of weakness. Trying implies the possibility of failure. You don't try to be a human being, you simply are one. You don't try to breathe, you just breathe. That's the key. We are moving from the phase of doing to the phase of being. You must stop acting like a disciplined person and become a disciplined person. You must stop imitating a conqueror and identify as the conqueror. You have a choice. You can spend the rest of your life pretending, or you can undergo a fundamental shift in your DNA. The identity shift. Here is the psychology of the elite. Most people operate on this formula. Have, do, be. If I have $1 million, then I will do the things rich people do, and then I will be successful. This is broken. This is backwards. This is why you are stuck. The unstoppable mind operates on this formula. Be, do, have. I am a successful person, therefore I do the work of a successful person, and eventually I will have the result. Behavior follows identity. You do not act in a way that is inconsistent with who you believe you are. If you believe you are a smoker who is trying to quit, you will fail, because at your core you are still a smoker. If you believe you are a non-smoker, you don't need willpower to turn down a cigarette. It's simply not what you do. It's not about willpower, it's about identity. You need to rewrite the code of your character. You need to convince your subconscious mind that you are already the person you dream of becoming. When you identify as an athlete, training isn't a chore, it's just what you do. When you identify as a leader, making hard decisions isn't scary, it's just what you do. You don't need their permission to change your label. You don't need a certificate. You don't need an award. You simply decide. You wake up today and say, I am the type of person who never misses a deadline, and then you act like it. You say, I am the type of person who thrives in pain, and then you seek it.
This is the ultimate hack. Once you shift the identity, the habits come for free. The discipline becomes automatic. You are no longer fighting against yourself, you are simply acting in alignment with your new nature. The new standard. Kill the old self. To be born again, the old version of you must die. This is not a metaphor. This is a requirement. The person who bought this audiobook, the person who was lazy, fearful, insecure, and addicted to comfort, that person has to go. You cannot drag that corpse up the mountain with you. It is too heavy. You must hold a funeral for your old self. The person who hit the snooze button, dead. The person who cared about the opinions of sheep, dead. The person who waited for someday, dead. You have a choice. You can keep resuscitating that weak version of yourself because it feels familiar, or you can put a bullet in it and walk away. It's not about improvement, it's about replacement. We are not here to improve the old you. The old you is flawed structurally. We are here to replace it with a new standard. The new standard is absolute. The new version of you does not negotiate with feelings. The new version of you does not tolerate mediocrity. The new version of you operates on a binary code, done or not done. When you adopt the new standard, people will say you have changed. They will say you are different. They might even say you are too intense. Good. That means the old self is decomposing. That means the new self is taking command. Do not apologize for your evolution. Do not lower your standard to make others comfortable. You are not here to make friends. You are here to make history. Unstoppable force, bending reality. When you master your identity and you hold the new standard, something strange happens. The world starts to treat you differently. Reality is a mirror. It reflects your internal state. When you were weak and unsure, the world gave you resistance. It gave you doubt. It gave you scraps. But when you are absolute, when you are an unstoppable force, the world gets out of your way. People can smell conviction. They can smell self-belief. When you walk into a room with the absolute certainty of a conqueror, doors open, opportunities appear, money follows. This is not magic. This is physics. Unstoppable force moves movable objects, and everything in the world is a movable object if you hit it hard enough.
You become the master of your environment. You stop reacting to the economy, the news, or the critics. You start creating your own economy. You start creating your own news. You become the cause, not the effect. That's the key. The victim is always the effect of the world. The conqueror is the cause of the world. You determine the temperature of the room. You determine the outcome of the battle. You determine the value of your time. You don't need their permission to take the throne of your own life. It has been empty this whole time, waiting for you to sit in it. Transformation, the mirror declaration. Here is your final instruction. This is the integration. Every morning, before you look at your phone, before you talk to anyone, you are going to go to the mirror. You are going to look yourself in the eyes, deep in the eyes, until it feels uncomfortable. And you are going to repeat the code. You are not going to whisper it. You are going to state it like a fact. You will say, I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. I do not negotiate with weakness. I am unstoppable. You might feel silly the first time. Your old self will try to laugh at you. Your old self will say, who do you think you are? Ignore the voice. Say it again, louder. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. Repetition rewires belief. If you say it enough, and if you back it up with action, eventually it becomes the truth. You are brainwashing yourself, and that is good. Because if you don't brainwash yourself for success, the world will brainwash you for failure. Take control of the programming. Install the software of the conqueror. Conclusion. You have learned that identity drives behavior. You have learned to kill the old self and establish a new standard. You have learned that you are the cause, not the effect. We have reached the summit. You have the tools, you have the mindset, you have the strategies. The audiobook is ending. The sound of my voice will stop in a moment. And when the silence hits, you will be left with the most terrifying thing in the world, yourself. You will be left with the choice to go back to sleep or to stay awake, to go back to the cage or to hunt in the wild. I cannot walk the path for you. I can only show you the map. The map is in your hands. The weapon is in your mind. The time is now. There is nothing left to say. There is only one thing left to do. You now have the blueprint. You have the code. But knowledge without execution is just another form of procrastination. The book is ending, but your war is just beginning. Do not close this and go back to your old life. Do not go back to the comfort. Do not go back to the excuses. From this second forward, you are on the clock. Every emotion is a test. Every pain is a lesson. Every failure is fuel. You are not the same person who started this hour. That person was weak. You are strong. That person was lost. You are focused. That person waited. You strike. There is no more trying. There is only doing. Master your mind. Command your state. Destroy your limits. Look at the day ahead of you. It is yours to conquer. Now get up and get to work.